Snow and Hahn. Excuse me. My law firm represents solar developers. We have taken a look at the ordinance that was proposed by Green Development. In many ways, we think it's a good ordinance, but we did have some tweaks that we wanted to have made to it. I've given a copy of those to each of the council members, to the solicitor, the administrator. I have one for the clerk, and I've given one to Mr. Kravitz and to Mr. Mancini. I think I can safely say that Mr. Mancini told me before the hearing they had no issue with any of the tweaks that we have made to the ordinance, and I would ask that when you're considering in your second reading and when it goes back to the planning board for their recommendations, that the language that we are suggesting be revised, which is the yellow highlighted and crossed out language in your copies, be incorporated into an ordinance if you so choose to make the revisions to the zoning ordinance that have been requested by redevelopment. And I don't think I need to continue unless somebody has questions. I'm mindful of the fact that a lot of people want to speak.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Rapto.
Mike Rapko, 25 Old Green Road. I live at the base of Waterbury Hill, lived there for over 30 years. So I can see what the issues are. What bothers me the most about what happened with this presentation is that we got blindsided. A lot of this information was given to us on Saturday, April 21st. A lot of changes. We've been working on this for a couple of weeks, and the developer, all of a sudden, things are changing. Whether it's the size of the project, whether it's the reimbursement to the town of North Smithfield. And it's very strange that the same thing happened in the town of Exeter with this developer. They come to the council and they make last minute changes. It just throws everybody off balance. And what happened in Exeter, which I'm going to read to you some of the issues in Exeter, and those issues are here in North Smithfield also. So I think it's important for the audience to realize that this developer has some real serious issues in Exeter, and he also has serious issues in Richmond, which he doesn't want to talk about. But the track record might be good for wind turbines for this company, but they don't have the track records for solar. That's the bottom line. The track record is not here for solar. And you'll hear once I read some of this. I was hoping to have more time. When they talk about the tax reimbursement, when you start doing it on an acreage basis, it just flips the whole picture. If you look at Lowe's, based upon the acreage, you're getting $11,000 per acre. This solar project is going to give you $2,000. It agrees with what our administrator talked about the Brickell property. The same thing. Commercial property generates more tax revenue than solar. So our administrator is correct when he talked about the Brickell property. But let me get into my presentation because I have so many things to talk about. I'm going to run out of time. But it's very strange that we allow a developer to dictate to us, town of North Smithfield, the terms and conditions of an ordinance. This happened a couple of years ago with a gravel extraction. I think Mr. Zawinski probably would remember that we asked for gravel extraction, and we found out it was written by a developer, and everything blew up. The taxpayers were so mad that it wasn't the town that generated the audience, it was from the developer. Why does the developer have the right to tell us how to write an ordinance? We should be going to other cities and towns, getting what's good, collecting it, and creating our own ordinance. Why do we have to listen to a developer for terms and conditions? We're doing it backwards. You know, in the town of Exeter, I'd like to just really, because of time, I'd like to just read some quick points. This article came from the Providence Journal, dated April 2nd, and it's a lot of issues, a lot of similarities. In Exeter, the developer wanted to start with property of 27 acres within 6 miles of the substation. In North Smithfield, we're talking about an 80-acre minimum or contiguous 80. And we're only about a quarter or half a mile from the substation because they know what it is, they live in the area. So the developer is going to make a bundle of money. He only has to go a short distance on National Grid's property. So there's a big difference. He's going to spend a lot of money in Exeter compared to North Smithfield. In Exeter, they don't want a special use permit, nor do they want to go to a major land development plan, which is different than North Smithfield. But it was surprising. It's all of a sudden they're changing their policy going from Exeter to North Smithfield. I think they're realizing mistakes were made down there, and they're trying to correct them at the last moment. That's what's happening. You go to Exeter first, then you come to North Smithfield. There were 230 signatures against the project in Exeter. A lot of upset people in Exeter. Let me see what else. In Exeter, the town council asked the planning board for a ruling on whether this district in Exeter was consistent with the comp plan. It's unfortunate in North Smithfield, we didn't ask, the town council didn't ask the planning board to see if this overlay district is consistent with the comp plan. The planning board never answered that question. And I think it should be asked. The council should ask the planning board, is this consistent with our comp plan? And I don't think it is. It's the comp plan from 2006. Another question is, planning board in Exeter, it says, you know, we're not against projects, we're just trying to control the process. They found 14 to 16 reasons why the changes didn't comply with the comprehensive plan. And I think if our planning board goes through, or our town planner goes through the comp plan, they're going to find out a lot of reasons why it's not consistent with our comp plan. I have some other issues with Exeter that are not in this article. Exeter was offered $7,000 per megawatt initially. North Smithfield, we were offered 6, and Saturday morning, all of a sudden it changes from 6 to 7 for North Smithfield. Very strange. I mean, why don't we offer $7,000 up front? Why did it change on Saturday a couple of days ago and they upped the ante? And I don't even know if they changed the size of the project. It was supposed to be a 40 megawatt project. Now the developer is telling us it's going to approach 65 megawatts. There's something going on. Are they going to use a larger footprint, or are they going to use high capacity panels? It seems like they're going to rent more space because the landowners, instead of getting $20 million as of last week, now today they're getting $31 million. This thing is bouncing all over the place. So I'm not comfortable. The planning board didn't have this information. The planning board got the old PowerPoint presentation. But let me talk about Richmond. I'll ask my wife to hand out. There's a lot of environmental issues in Richmond on the internet. And there was an article by the Westerly Sun dated April 21st. And my wife will hand out the article. And there's some serious issues facing this developer in Richmond. So there's issues on the table. Let's talk about some conflicts. As we said, I don't believe this district is consistent with our current plan. And, you know, when I think about it, why is Mr. Mancini saying that, you know, just because you got a special use permit, you know, that's allowing him to extend into an overlay district? All cities and towns, Exeter's got special use permits. Everybody's got a special use permit. It's not doing anything to the comprehensive plan that allows you to extend into an overlay district. I think we're mixing terms here. I think we need to work with our planner and the planning board and solve this issue about whether this is consistent or not. And when you look at the comprehensive plan, there's a lot of wetlands in the comprehensive plan that those wetlands need to be protected. And it's interesting, when you talk about in the comprehensive plan on page I-14, the area called Cherry Brook Cedar Swamp. I don't know if this council remembers, a couple of years ago, we had flooding in Cherry Brook. The people downstream from Cherry Brook had flooding. The water comes from Cedar Swamp. And where do you think the water from Cedar Swamp comes from? Waterbury Hill. A good portion of that water comes from Waterbury Hill. So, I mean, it's in our comprehensive plan that you have to be careful when you start developing in the area of the watershed. This solar plan is right in the middle of the watershed for Cherry Brook, and it's also in the watershed for the Woonsocket Reservoir. And no one seems to be getting excited about the watershed. It's like, we'll push that aside, we'll handle it later. That's a problem.
Just ask you to wrap it up.
Is there any chance if someone gives me time, I could continue this? It's on the list. It's on the list. So if someone volunteers, I'll be glad to continue this. So it's up to you if you're cutting me off now.
I'm just trying to keep this, I mean, we have a lot of people that want to get it.
Right, so I'll ask if someone wants to donate their time, I'll come back and do it. That's fine.
You can have my 4 minutes.
Continue.
You can cross me off the list.
I don't think we're in a hurry. All right, what's your name? I'm just trying to move this along and give everybody a fair chance, so.
Want to know the truth?
Yeah, I know. What's your name, ma'am?
Andy.
Go ahead. Mike.
Okay. So look at another issue. The town planner started the process to update the comp plan. A survey is now available on our town website. Now, once a draft of the new comp plan is available, then we're going to have public hearings to discuss this issue. Why would we adopt a solar overlay district right now that is not consistent with the current comp plan? Then we're going to have to go backwards and change the new comp plan that we're working on and disregard all the surveys and all the public hearings on the issue. It's like we're going backwards. You don't create a major change to the current plan as you're working on the new plan. If we feel that we need an overlay district, why aren't we discussing that in the new comp plan? It's not consistent with what we have today. This application is being applied to the current comprehensive plan, not what we want to do with the new comp plan. So if you try to apply it to the new plan, you're going to go backwards. I have a big issue with this issue about the developer doesn't want oversight from the zoning board of review. What's the issue? Redundancy is good. He talks about redundancy. What's wrong with redundancy when you're talking about a project that's going to be in effect for 25 years? It's good. It provides oversight. I think the developer wants to bypass procedures, whether it's in Exeter or in North Smithfield. He doesn't want to work with the zoning board of review. And what is the real issue? Is it because the zoning board of review is tougher to deal with and they're providing oversight and they're watching what's going on? I don't think the council, when he said the council's going to watch, you don't have the time to watch what's going on. That's the zoning board of review that's going to watch what's going on. And that's where it belongs, the zoning board of review with a special use permit. That's the way we operate today. Now, when they look at the size of the project, they're not going to tell you what they're clear cutting, but if you go to Dowling Village is 150 acres of parking lots, roads, and buildings. This project is going to put solar panels on every square foot of Dowling Village. That's what it's going to look like. So if the audience wants to know the size of this thing, go to Dowling Village and look at, you're going to put solar panels on every square foot of Dowling Village. That's the size of this project. It's not small. It's not the same as the solar panel near the liquor store behind the highway department, Marty's Liquor Store in Uxbridge. This is going to be a humongous factory. It's not going to be small. Our town administrator, I'm happy that he announced that he is involved in the project by owning land in Waterbury Hill. He has 2 parcels. under the listing, according to our GIS, of the Grand Banks Commerce Park. I think what's going to come up, what's going to happen, I hope it doesn't cause a conflict, that if this developer wants to expand the project, he can approach our administrator and just say, I would like to purchase your property. He's a contiguous abutter, and now the property goes from 122 acres, it adds his 19 acres, and now the developer can expand the project. No problem. But, you know, it shouldn't be done that way.
Mike, I better stop you there, because what are you implying right now? What are you trying to imply?
What am I trying to do?
Yeah, what are you trying to imply with that?
Well, the fact is, the small landowners should have an opportunity to expand without being controlled by the large developed land. This ordinance is written for 80 acres.
All right, but could you just keep in mind that the administrator has not been any part of this. It was Mr. Zelinski and I, we spoke to Green Development. The administrator has kept out of this right from the very beginning.
No, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is the small landowners, the only way they can participate is they have to be bought out by the large landowners on Waterbury Hill. This overlay is restricted to 80 acres. It doesn't give an opportunity for a small landowner in Waterbury Hill to participate.
All right, just don't plant seeds like that, though. I know it, all right?
I'm not planting seeds, I'm just saying, let's be fair to everybody.
All right.
Let's be fair to everybody. And, you know, when you set this overlay district with this minimum 80 acres, what you're really creating is a monopoly. Who else is going to be able to move into Waterbury Hill to develop solar? It's a district, but explain to me who's going to be able to create any solar activity on Waterbury Hill. There's 1 or 2 landowners that control the bulk of that property, 500 acres. Whether we like it or not, it's a monopoly, it's an exclusive. So what do we do with the rest of the landowners in North Smithfield? I don't know.
All right, Mike, just finish up, please.
Yeah, there's a financial issue, and Exeter has the same problem. You don't accept a PowerPoint presentation for financial issues. They can tell you anything they want. Where's the legal terms? You just started that, but there's a whole list of legal terms that should be given to the council for the solicitor to review, whether it's related to contract payment schedules, bonding, minimum guarantees, default clauses, decommissioning. That should be done in a boilerplate legal contract given to the council during this presentation so the solicitor can look at it. Because what happened, you know, when we did the wind turbine on, next to the Walmart, I don't know what caused that project to fail, whether it was the town, whether it was the developer, WED. I don't know if it was the financial issues, but we never found out. But to move forward, we should have legal documents that are focused on the financial terms. You don't believe a PowerPoint that says we're going to give you $10 million. That's not a legal document. There's a lot of financial issues that have to be reviewed. And you have to do it before you change the zone or do an overlay district.
All right, Mike, you got to wrap it up. We got other people that want to talk.
I'll let other people go. Thank you. I was going to give you recommendations, but that's fine. It seems like you're not interested. Thank you.
I'm not interested, but I'm interested in hearing what everybody has to say. Mr. Wait a minute. Did you guys want to reply?
Yeah, if we could. Yeah, want to be quick. With regards to some of the comments, first off, it's important to acknowledge the fact that the town council did ask the planning board for a recommendation in regards to the ordinance. One of the charges of the planning board is to determine whether or not this ordinance is consistent or inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. There's not 1 but 2 meetings that the planning board held with regards to this ordinance. Secondly, you know, I know Exeter has been in the news, but there's a lot of distinction between Exeter and North Smithfield, and there's been kind of a bit of a misconception or misunderstanding as to what's going on in Exeter and what's going on in Smithfield, but we want to make it very clear. The difference is this. First and foremost, Exeter does not have an extensive ordinance with regards to solar array as the town of North Smithfield has. Exeter has a very, very loose ordinance, it's section 11.1. And the issue in Exeter is whether to permit solar array by